Very much. Alberto, thank you very much for having the patience to get me here. I was supposed to be here last year, but I was in India, and you'll hear a little bit about what I was doing in India last year. I got stuck there. There was a death in my partner's family, and that's when the Taj Hotel got bombed. The title of my talk is Innovative Business Models to Bring About Social Change in the Pharmaceutical Industry, but bear with me because when I get to the end, we will be talking about how to address the financial crisis and the investing crisis in the biotechnology industry. So, anybody who knows anything about myself, my colleagues, or my company, we work on the discovery and development of prescription pharmaceuticals from rainforest resources. We do so in an environmentally friendly way, in a way that is respectful of indigenous knowledge. It is our basic enabling technology, if you will. It's our secret sauce for discovery. This is not what I call business model innovation. This is just the way we do business. What I consider social change and innovation in the pharmaceutical industry is providing access to proprietary novel drugs to everyone, to every country, every population, every channel, regardless of their social or economic status, and to do so in a sustainable way, not requiring subsidies, not requiring charity or donations, and in a way that enhances return on investment. So in 2001, NAPO decided to go beyond the challenge of developing drugs from the rainforest, which, as we heard earlier, is quite the big risk challenge in and of itself. And we decided to innovate on the business model in our industry. And there was a confluence of events that got us there. I'm going to talk about just three of them. The first one is a speech that I heard in 2001. It was given by the CEO of a major pharmaceutical company. Interestingly, it was given at a botanical gardens, and he was quoting one of the more progressive vice presidents in the U.S., and that's actually spelled wrong, Hubert Humphrey. And the gist of the quote was that the moral responsibility of a country, of a government, is to take care of those in the dawn of their life, the young, the elderly, and those who are sick and disabled and can't take care of themselves. And his view was, again, the speaker, was that should be the same moral standard that the pharmaceutical industry is held to. After all, we're trading in human suffering. And it was an inspiring moment for us at NAPO. But when I went back and looked at our experience in the pharmaceutical industry for the past prior 10 years, looked at what was going on with large pharma, looked even in particular at what was going on with the company of this particular CEO, the reality did not match the rhetoric. And while there are some beautiful examples of charity, of granting and giving, and we always know about them because they're always complemented by a PR activity as well, they're not sustainable. And there are some disturbing lapses in life-saving medicines, novel medicines not getting to populations most in need. And most in need is not necessarily always those who are most in financial need. So NAPO decided at that point that we would put in place business model innovation to bring about social change. So we focus on the discovery and the development of novel drugs for the global marketplace. As I said, every country, every population, every channel, regardless of social or economic status, by partnering with local companies, local pharmaceutical companies, and even relief organizations to deal with one-time disaster situations. It's sustainable because everybody's in business making this happen. There's no cross-subsidies, there's no grants, there's no charity. So we have the same business model as any other emerging pharmaceutical or biotechnology company that's focused on the high profitability markets of the West. And then we add on top of that the high volume business markets of emerging and developing economies, 80% of the world's population that normally is ignored from that economic model. And that's how we get an enhanced or greater return on investment. The policy issue that we deal with is tiered pricing. But as far as we're concerned, tiered pricing is already alive and well between US and Canada, US and Europe, and we're just talking about a wider range here, and there are contractual methods, practical methods, and even technological methods to deal with that right now. Two of the other factors that influenced us to evolve and innovate on our business model was India joining the WTO in the early 2000s. So we went to India and we found pharmaceutical companies that were now adhering to global IP laws and wanted to become multinational pharmaceutical companies just located in Mumbai, based in Mumbai, rather than Switzerland and the US. What they had is, because they all came from generic backgrounds, they already had registration and distribution channels into 140, 150 emerging and developing countries. And they had already started on business practices to take proprietary drugs into those territories and therefore implement the same business model that we wanted to. And so what we did is we partnered with them. And there's a nice distinction here. I appreciated the professor's comments early on, Professor Pisano's comments early on about there's no collaboration that actually is a collaboration. There are certain circumstances where that can work. And we don't look at our Indian partners or our rest of world partners as an outsourcing opportunity. They are true partnerships. And there are skills that we have developed and evolved and perfected in the West that are different than those in rest of world territories. And so to really focus on a collaboration where you're bringing what you're good at to the table can make it a collaboration, can make it a partnership. Also, social franchises. Right now, in India, in most Asian countries, about 70% of the health care that is delivered to those who are poor in the most impoverished situation is actually going through the private sector with a small margin. It's about 50% in Africa and South American countries right now, and that's growing as well. The next point is diseases that know no borders. So our strategy works when you have a disease that occurs everywhere. Gastrointestinal diseases occur everywhere, diabetes, cardiovascular disease. It doesn't work with a very limited tropical disease, and it doesn't work with very high-tech, very expensive technologies. I do want to say that it's an interesting strategy, and I forgot to mention this in the beginning. One of the questions that you should all have is, cute strategy, where's the product? Napo's lead product has been in development, discovery and development, for 20 years, and I'm very happy to say in less than a year, it will be on the market, and within 12 months after that, it'll be in 6 different countries on 5 different continents. And it's the perfect product to put through this particular business model because it hits chronic diseases like irritable bowel syndrome, chronic GI distress in AIDS patients, cancer patients, in the high-valued models of the West. And in the emerging economies, it's for life-threatening dehydration from cholera, severe diarrhea, the biggest killer of children, and responsible for 4 billion episodes of enteric disease every single year. One of the rules we learned in working in the global marketplace, certainly in a company that is still raising risk-based financing,